So here we go. Good part of the day, second attempt. Hopefully I'm not gonna get interrupted. So let's talk about stuttering. Of course, there are so many other topics we could talk about, but unfortunately there are too many people are struggling today, and they are living this nightmare of stuttering sickness. They are struggling from this, and we have to talk about it. And I want you to understand today that the author of the Ethalon Science, academic Roman Snishko, calls stuttering. He calls it a maze. Stuttering is like a maze. People who stutter, millions of people who stutter, walk in this maze, and any direction they go, they get stuck. They cannot go any further. They don't know what to do. It's like they hit the wall. They take their questions here, there, to this specialist, to that specialist. But unfortunately, these specialists also can only speculate what stuttering is, because stuttering is also kind of like a maze for them. So today, my goal is to give you, to present the information in as a simple way as possible, so you could understand that there is absolutely nothing to be afraid in stuttering, and that there is nothing to be struggling in your life. So, but let me explain, what does it mean, stuttering? The cause, the reason why people behave this and that way is already known very well. Not, of course, by conventional professionals, they don't have the training, but Mr. Roman Snishko, independent scientist who lives in Russia and doesn't speak English language, I have become like a medium for him. I am just listening to him, interpreting his words in Russian, and giving information to you. So the cause and the main mechanism of stuttering is a so-called stupor. And what is stupor? Stupor is a static arrest. It's like when you walk towards the wall, you rest towards the wall, there is no way you can continue walking. Okay, so this is what you all have. Each and every person who stutters, and I'm assuming that people who are listening to me are those who stutter. I'm going to try to turn the video on because I need to see if there are people watching. Okay, but for some reason the noise still coming. I turned it off, but I still see the noise. Anyway, hear the noise. So hopefully, oh, yeah, I did it good now. Now it's not. So let me tell you before I continue. So I recommend that you don't wait for anybody else to ask your question. Just go ahead and type your question in here, because only in this way you will get the answer to your question. Each and every person who stutters has a totally different set of questions. You guys are all different. There are no even two people who stutter who are the same, who have exactly the same questions. But let me continue. After these technical difficulties, looks like everything is fine now. I can continue. So once again, if you don't understand what stuttering is, if you don't understand what the problem that you're facing, how can you ever overcome this problem? How can you ever solve the problem? The problem is that each and every person who stutters has no idea what it is. And when you guys come to a professionals, so-called professionals who also don't know what stuttering is, of course, it's written everywhere. No one knows what stuttering is. No one knows what causes it, but it's believed that speech therapists may help. But let's not talk about it, because I've been a speech therapist for 30 plus years in my life, working as a speech and language service provider, therapist in Russia, in the United States of America. So I know the profession cold. I know what it is. I know what people have been trained to do. So I'm not going to talk about it. I know that all people who work in the industry have a big heart. They all genuinely want to help those who struggle with this so-called stuttering sickness. And why I'm saying stuttering sickness? Because yes, millions of people who stutter believe that they are sick, that there is something wrong with their brain. Something is wrong with the wiring of their brain. Something is wrong with some part of their body. Something is wrong with their breathing. There are so many things that it is believed that is wrong, which is in reality is not true. So let's talk about it today in more details. When you don't know what problem you're facing, and you believe people who are supposed to be authorities in the industry, they are supposed to be professionals, and they're supposed to know what it is. But once again, they openly tell you, nobody knows what stuttering is. So, and people who stutter take their speculations. And I want you to understand that even the founding fathers who were in the beginning of the industry, which I call stuttering cure industry, they never were able to prove that stuttering is a medical problem, that it is a physiological problem of the body, because brain is also part of our body, right? They have never been able to prove anything. There have been thousands of researchers involved. So many researchers have been done, but nobody ever was able to prove that stuttering is a problem of the body, that stuttering is genetic. Yeah, they've done some experiments on rats, but in case you don't know, rats don't speak. So the bottom line is that if you don't know what stuttering is and you believe what they tell you, yeah, you are never gonna continue developing your skills to speak. And this is what I am screaming on top of my lungs, explaining to people who stutter. There is absolutely nothing wrong with your body. Physiologically, physically, you are 100%, I would say 99.99% of people who stutter are physiologically intact. There is nothing wrong with you. But the problem is the information that you believe. Unfortunately, you believe the untruth, that you have a sickness and you need to look for a cure. And this is why you do not speak much. You do not continue developing your speaking skills. What do? You sit and wait for others to cure you. You sit and wait when someone will help you, and you're doing it silently. And unfortunately, when you believe that you are sick, you develop all kinds of things, all kinds of beliefs that are actually not accurate. You yourself create so I call it a boogeyman. You create monsters. You believe that they exist. These monsters exist. But guess what? In reality, they don't exist. So, and of course, if you believe that boogeyman stuttering exists, which, as I'm telling you, does not exist as a medical condition, as a genetic condition, you believe that boogeyman exists. And of course, when children believe in boogeyman, guess what they're doing? They are getting ready to meet this boogeyman. They, in reality, they are afraid of this boogeyman. They may hide, children may hide under the table. They may cover themselves. They may run away from this boogeyman because they are really afraid. They are afraid to enter the room because they're afraid, dark room, that there is a boogeyman. The boogeyman is going to hurt them. But I mean, it's okay with children. But when children become older, they grow up and become adults, unfortunately, it's still the case. There's still this misbelief that they learned when they were young. It's still in their memory. They still believe it. The core remains wrong. And people who stutter become adults, but they still believe in wrong information, misinformation. They believe that stuttering is some kind of a mysterious, dangerous boogeyman. Stuttering is going to attack you, and who knows what it is? They don't know. And I'm here to explain to you that stuttering is simply underdevelopment of your speaking skills. Yes, stuttering is speech, your speech, which is underdeveloped, developed not in a correct way. It's not developed well. It's developed to the level when you stopped speaking consciously, when you learned that you need to be afraid of a boogeyman, stuttering. This is the level where your speech stopped. You stopped your speech development. And of course, when you do not speak, when you remain silent in a conversation, when other people keep speaking, yeah, they make mistakes, but what they do, they get up and continue walking, they continue speaking. So speech is a skill. I want you to understand it. And we develop it. We develop these speaking skills naturally. We're not born speaking, ready. We are born ready to learn to speak. But of course, we're not born with a gene kind of making us speak from birth. No. And here is a very simple example I want to give you so you could understand that no people on the planet are ever born ready to speak. No. If you take a person of any nationality, let's take someone who is origin Chinese child, newborn Chinese child, and you take this child and place in the family where everyone speaks English. Now, answer the question. Will this Chinese child, obviously you can see the slender eyes, all the traits of a Chinese nationality, right? But will this child ever begin speaking Chinese if everyone around speaks only English? No, of course not. Because speech is a skill. It's something that we learn. We need to learn it. We develop this skill from the moment we are born to the moment we die. Of course, the basics we develop when we're young, but the older we become, the higher mastery of our speaking skills is. We learn more words, we learn more languages, we learn. It's been happening through the whole life. So, and I want you to understand that we speak not for others the way people who stutter think. No, we don't speak for other people. We want to speak. We have accumulated some experience in us. We have accumulated some information in our memory. We want to share with this information with others. We want to speak. Something is just pushing us. We want to express our emotions, our ideas. And this is what makes us better speakers. Our experience. The more we speak, the easier it becomes. We basically instill this action of speaking to our body. Another very important part I want to share with you is that what is speaking? You gotta understand it. Speaking is an action. Action. Just like playing a musical instrument, walking, just like reading, writing, just like any other, flying a helicopter. These are all actions. Just understand this. Action we perform. Now I have a question. Can the action ever become ill, sick? Will the action ever require a cure? If I cannot fly a helicopter, doesn't mean I'm sick? Does it mean I need a cure for this action? For not being able to fly a helicopter? If I do not speak Japanese language, I never learned it, does it mean that I'm sick? You have to understand, action can never become ill. And the action, including speaking, never requires any cure. It never requires any medical attention. It never requires even any long-term training. Of course, it requires repetition a lot. When you have figured it out how to do it correctly, now you have to repeat a lot. Then it's gonna become very simple because you're gonna instill this ability to do it on your body, because your body is the instrument that you learn to perform this action with this body. So once again, speech is an action. Speaking is an action that we perform with our body. Of course, there is also mind involved. Body, mind, instrument. Body, mind, machine. This is how I call it. And I want you to understand that performing an action could happen at a different level. Yes, sometimes when we perform an action, let's say reading, how does a first grader perform this action of reading? Of course, he begins reading very slowly. He makes mistakes in the beginning. He is reading and his grade maybe is like very low grade, like C, if you live in the United States of America, or the grade is 3, whatever. But the more he reads, his skill becomes easier and easier. He learns how to read better and better. He instills this action in his body. So once again, you can perform an action, let's say reading. You can read at this level, then you go to the high level of mastery, the quality increases, then better, better, and you may become a master, a perfect reader. You may become the best reader on the planet. And this is exactly the same with speaking. And guess what happens? When people who stutter learn their wrong belief, this misinformation that they're sick, they stop speaking. They stop communicating with others. They communicate, they learn to write, they can write words, they communicate with words, but they do not speak. They stop developing their speech. And of course, their speech gets stuck in the level of their speech, the quality of their speech gets kind of stuck in their early childhood. And that's what happens. And this is why it's kind of, they say, it's hard for me to speak. It's difficult to speak. Of course it is. Because you're still the level, the quality of your speech is just like a young child, depending on when you learned consciously that you are kind of a bad speaker, you're a sick person. So stuttering is a set of your skills. It's a set of your mistakes. And the way I call it, it's a set of your blocks. This is why, of course, you feel that it is difficult because you are performing this action, speaking action, incorrectly. You are performing speech actions unnaturally. You literally go when you are supposed to pull, like let's say you want to open the door by pulling, you are pushing it. It's literally happening this way. And I know that right now there are a lot of people who will be watching this in recorded way, or you're watching it right now live. You will have a cognitive dissonance. You will say, no, 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 it can't be true. Right? Okay. Because all the information about stuttering, everything you have never learned about stuttering is not reality. This is untrue. This is a nightmare. And you need to awaken from this nightmare. You need to understand what stuttering is, what the problem is. So your speech development, once again, is stuck in your early childhood. In some people, really early childhood. In some people, a little older. It depends when you became conscious about being sick. So let's talk about what is it that you do which is abnormal. Let's compare. When I say normal people, these are people who never even think about this possibility that their speaking action may become sick. And they keep developing their speech. They keep speaking. Even if they made a mistake, they keep speaking. They figure it out how to say correctly the word. They never break words in parts. They speak in whole words because this is what they hear. They hear how other people speak. And they repeat after other people. They speak in whole words. And if they made a mistake, they realize, okay, I didn't say the whole word. They just go back and say a complete word. They fix their mistakes. But because people who stutter believe that they're sick, they don't do this. They begin hiding from these words. They believe that this is their sickness, that they need to hide from saying words, that this is a difficult letter, this is a difficult word, this is a difficult syllable, whatever, sound, that they should avoid saying. And guess what? When you attempt to avoid saying a word, how can you ever learn to say it? And you need to understand that people who stutter do everything in the, I would say, inside out, upside down, like in the opposite way. It's literally the case when adequate, normal people speak on exhalation. They just exhale. The flow of CO2 is coming out. At this time, normal people speak on exhalation, but people who stutter do exactly the opposite. They keep inhaling. They keep exercising their breathing because, yeah, they believe they're sick and there is something wrong with their breathing. And they keep inhaling. Also, when normal people speak, they open their mouth because they know they need their flow of CO2 gas out, and they keep their mouth open. People who stutter shut their mouth tightly, and they do not let the carbon dioxide out. And then they surprise why it's not coming out. Yeah, because they shut tightly their mouth. They don't let the flow of gas out. If normally speaking people, before they say anything, they imagine. What is it that I'm going to talk about? Here, I'm going to talk about a monkey. Let me see. Here is the monkey. I see it in my imagination. Now I know I can say monkey because I know what I'm talking about, what I'm going to talk about. People who stutter don't imagine anything. They have no idea what they're going to talk about yet. The most important for them is just to start. They need to start. They have no idea. They don't know what the ending of the word is. This is why they start and they never finish, because they don't visualize, they don't see the whole word. They imagine, they have it in their imagination, visualization, just the beginning of the word. And guess what? That's what they have in their mind at this moment, and this is what comes out, the beginning of the word. When normal people speak, they never attempt to do the construction, to prepare a whole sentence in their mind. They speak in complete words. Okay? But when people who stutter speak, before they say anything, they compose a whole poem, like a novel, right in their mind. They compose it and they attempt to say it at once. This is crazy. It's absolutely impossible to do. If you don't believe me, just attempt to do this experiment. Attempt to say "or" and "oo" at the same time. Okay, let's take better even. "Ah" and "oo" at the same time. When you are saying "ah," can "oo" sound in your mouth at the same time? It is impossible. Okay? So this is the problem. Because when people who stutter speak, they don't know that normal people, normal speech action is speaking, saying a whole word in a sequence. Okay? In a sequence of sound. Everything in our speech is coming out in a sequence. If it's a whole word, it's a sequence of sounds. If it's a whole, then it goes like word. It's never a sentence. It goes one word after the next one, after the next one. It's never, ever everything at once. And you have to understand. You see, there are two types of people. One type of people are rational people, adequate people. They keep developing themselves. They keep growing. They develop all kinds of skills. They learn to do this. They learn to do that. And they never even think about a possibility of not being able to learn to do something. Of course, unless they don't have arms, okay, and they realize, yeah, I cannot become a conductor, okay, use my arms to be a conductor, right? But other than that, if you have perfect body, there is nothing wrong with your body, of course, you can learn to do anything. You can instill any skill to do anything with your body. Adequate people learn and develop their skills. Stutterers don't do this. They keep fighting this non-existent stuttering sickness because it's a boogeyman. They're afraid of it. They believe that they are sick. So once again, stuttering is a stupor block. And once again, stupor is a static arrest, static rest. When you are, it's like a static stop. You know how when you open the door, there is a stop, door stop? It's like when you are opening the door and the door cannot be opened all the way because there is a stop. This is what stuttering is. You are doing something, but you cannot do it physically because the information that you believe in your mind is incorrect. Your action that you're performing is abnormal. Normal people never do this. No, and of course, what do you expect? So you simply do not have the information because no one ever tells you what speech is. No one ever tells you why you stutter. No one ever explains to you what is speaking. And if you don't know this, then guess what? How can you address this problem? So you may say, oh yeah, you don't have knowledge about what is speaking, what is a speech instrument, what is it that you're using at this moment. Speech is produced by a speech instrument. You need to understand that yes, we have a speech pipe. This is a speech pipe. It's a wind instrument. We have a container with air, which is a carbon dioxide gas. It's a waste gas, which we always have in our lungs. This is the way our body works. We never need to inhale air to speak. Why? Because we inhale oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. We never speak on oxygen. You got to understand this. And speaking is just like whistling. If you know how to create this hole at the end of the speech pipe, the waste gas, when you supply it, will come out. Of course, if you keep the hole at the end of the pipe open. So I want you to understand there is absolutely nothing to be afraid of stuttering if you understand what speech is, if you understand how simple it is. But unfortunately, nobody explains it to you. And you are still afraid that speaking is such a mystery that, I mean, you need to be born speaking and stuff like that, and you can't because you are sick. Okay, so what else people who stutter may say? I see that there are a few people finally watching me. So here it is. You may say, I cannot speak because of the fear. Yeah, okay, I hear you, yes. You're afraid of speaking. But nobody has ever explained to you, what is it that you're fearful of? What is fear caused by? Why are you afraid to speak? It's very simple. Because you are afraid of being ashamed. You are afraid that others may laugh at you. You are afraid that you may make a fool of yourself. This is a shame of someone who simply hasn't learned how to do something well. Here is another example I can give you, just away from speaking. Let's say you are a bad dancer. You've never learned to dance well, but you are at the party and someone calls you, hey, come on, dance on the stage. They call you, come over, and everyone is watching you how you're dancing. But you are ashamed of not being a good dancer. Would you be afraid to come up on the stage and dance in front of others? No, I guess if you're drunk, you may don't care, and you go up there and you make people laugh at you. But if you are sober, you may be ashamed of this. You may be afraid of coming up on the stage and dancing in front of others because everyone will see that you don't know how to do it well. So your fear of speaking is a fear of a person who simply has never ever learned how to speak well. You have never developed your speech. This is your problem. This is what you're fearful of. And again, you are afraid of everything because you don't know what it is. what your speech apparatus, speech instrument is, how you're speaking, your natural response is you're afraid of everything. You're afraid of your speech instrument. You're afraid of your lungs. You're afraid of your tongue. You're afraid of your lips. You're afraid of your own body. You're afraid of your mind. What if my brain is going to do something wrong? You are afraid of words, right? Because words are so fearful. I mean, so scary. Why are they scary? Because you've never learned how to say correctly this word. You do not know, nobody ever told you that every word is a simple flow of CO2 gas. Once again, CO2 gas, just like what I just demonstrated to you. It's a flow of CO2 gas. Can everyone whistle? Of course not. Only the one who has learned, and believe me, I learned to whistle when I was young for a long time, and then when I wore braces, I lost this ability. I'm not whistling well because the set in my mouth is different. I still can whistle, but it's not as beautiful as I used to. But the moment I figure it out, now I don't have to worry about it. I just supply the flow of CO2 gas and keep my mouth open. It comes out because I have information how this process works. Okay? So, and I'm not afraid of whistling. I can do it. I know I'm not perfect, but I'm not afraid of doing it. This is why when you are afraid of everything, you're afraid of people, you develop this reaction. You become extremely aggressive. Yes, people who stutter are very aggressive people. You may tell me, no, I'm such a nice person. You may be a nice person, but deep inside you are afraid and you are very aggressive. You don't like people because you believe that people are going to hurt you. You create monsters out of people in your head. When you look at people, you expect them to hurt you. You expect them to laugh at you. You expect them to abuse you. You expect them to oppress you. All kinds of things. You expect that people are going to humiliate you, insult you. And of course, your natural reaction is aggression. You don't like people. When you are afraid of something, you are always aggressive towards thing that you are afraid of. I hope you understand the way I explain it, because I try to be as expressive as I can. And keep in mind, English is not my native language. It probably would be easier for me to explain it in in Russian. So this is why sometimes I look at my notes. When Mr. Roman Snishko speaks, he never looks at any notes. He just goes. Okay. So once again, this is, I want you to understand that aggression causes us to be tense. We tense our muscles. Have you ever played with a worm when you were a child? I mean, at least in my childhood, I loved playing with little worms. I was never afraid of worms, rainworms. And I was playing with them, I would cut it in half, see how both parts would stay alive. It was so fascinating to me. But I remember how I would look at the worm and I would just hit it, like abruptly, hit it. And I would see immediately the reaction of this worm. It would become tense because it would become fearful. And you need to understand that our body is made of muscles, of course, a lot of muscles. And when the fear happens, we tense our muscles. And of course, when the muscles are tense, the blood circulation stops. And of course, the spasms begin. It's not a medical condition. You gotta understand, because people who stutter believe that there's something wrong with their body. They develop spasms, almost like epilepsy. No, you don't have any spasms. When you begin speaking and you are afraid of words, and you know the difficult word is coming and you're afraid of it, you tense your muscles. And as a result, tensing muscles, you apply too much force on your muscles. And you tense, you cannot move. And when you cannot move, of course, the flow of gas cannot come out. The whole body is tensed. And this is why you gotta understand that when you are tense, when you develop too much tension in your body, it's not pleasant. It's painful. This is why people who stutter develop pain everywhere in their throat, in their muscles of their body. They do all kinds of incorrect speech actions. Once again, please understand, you are the operator of your body-mind machine. Body-mind machine is the instrument. And if you do anything abnormally, guess what? You're going to feel abnormal. Your body will react. I mean, it's going to react naturally, but you will be performing abnormal actions. Everyone will see that something is wrong with you, because normal people never apply tension to their muscles. The air, the carbon dioxide gas is very light. How much force do you need? The air is almost weightless. All you need to do just to make sure that you have the word in your mind and you don't apply force. You keep your mouth open and let the carbon dioxide out. But this is kind of a general information. As an etalon speech unblocking master, I know cold how speech is happening. And when I see my students come step in the etalon classroom, I see where their block is. What is it that they are doing that normal people never do? And of course, when you look at different people who stutter, the mistakes that they make could look pretty similar. They may look similar. I mean, they all repeat words. They may stuck in the beginning of the word. They all don't finish words. I mean, not all. I mean, every person who stutters is so different. As I said in the beginning, each person who stutters has a totally different set of mistakes. Totally different. They may look alike, but they're different. This is why when I receive messages, just before I forget, I want to share with you. In the morning, I received this message from someone. Someone emailed to me, hello, I'm looking forward to get rid of my stutter and regulate my breathing when I speak, so I don't stutter. How does this work and what is the cost? So this is the message I received in the morning, and I just decided to take a screenshot to share with you. And by the way, if you are watching, I see a couple of people watching, I encourage you to type in your question. If you have a question, hopefully the setting will allow me. Top chat. Okay. So type in your question. I will be able to answer your question right away. So back to the fears. Yes, people who stutter see enemies everywhere. This is why they're aggressive. They're so aggressive. They may be nice people, but they're aggressive. If you believe that a person is gonna harm you, hurt you, humiliate you, of course you're not gonna like this person. Of course you're gonna be aggressive. And of course you're gonna tense your body. It's natural. So, and when you see enemies in people, you believe all kinds of wrong things and you do all kinds of wrong things. And until you learn what speaking is, what is this speech instrument, what the speech pipe is, how speech is happening, you will not be able to get rid of this, never ever, because anywhere you go, people who are supposed to be specialists, they are as ignorant as you are. I apologize for the word ignorant. I know you don't like it probably, but this is the way it is. You are uneducated. You are ignorant because you don't know. And here is the way how I can prove it. Every time I ask a person who stutters, why do you repeat words? Why do you say only the beginning sound? Why do you shut your mouth instead of keeping your mouth open? Why? And guess what? Every time I get exactly the same answer. I don't know. I just do. It's happening. I don't know. This I don't know phrase is kind of like a label of a person who stutters. They don't know. You don't know what you're doing. And because you don't know, I mean, we call people who don't know dumb and stupid. I know you're not, because you're capable of learning to do anything. You're 100% normal person. And when I say people that they are people who stutter is kind of dumb, people get offended. They say, no, I'm not dumb. Yes, you are not. But you, every time you say, I don't know, what is it? If lack of knowledge, lack of education, lack of correct education. Because you may have a lot of information in your mind, but it is not correct. It is not accurate. No matter how much you are following this incorrect information, you will still remain a stutterer. You will still remain afraid of people, difficult words. Let me do a little bit of this. Difficult words, difficult situations, because every time you receive someone's speculation, someone's advice, someone's recommendation, and you attempt to follow it, you may feel a little better for some time, because the one who gave you this recommendation, this person knows something a little bit, but you will always come back to stuttering. This is why stuttering, they say it relapses, it comes back. No, it mutates, it changes the form, because you still have no idea what is this speech instrument about, how it works. And any recommendation you follow will never work for you in the long run, will never work. It will always, stuttering will always come back. It may change the form, but as long as you still believe that you are a stutterer, that you are a sick person, that you are different from others, you will remain this different person. You will remain a stutterer. In order to become a person who never worries about speaking, you gotta turn on your brain. You gotta turn on understanding of what speech is, how your speech instrument works, and just realize this is just nothing. And I do encourage you that in 2019, with my whole heart, I want you to forget about stuttering. I want the only thing that will be left in your mind, I wish, just your memories of how naive and gullible you were, and how funny were the things that you were doing. But this will happen only when you realize this is what stuttering is, this is what speaking is, and this is what I need to do. Now, let me explain to you how I work in this program. So I am kind of pretty smart person, right? Because for those of you who don't know, I have been working as let me put it this way, I did work as a speech and language conventional professional, speech therapist, speech and language service provider in 2 countries, Russia and United States of America. Believe it or not, I worked as a speech and language conventional speech teacher for different school districts. I provided speech and language services for many, many years as well in the United States of America as a conventional service provider. And then when I switched 7 years ago, when I switched to learning, studying under the scientific supervision of independent scientist, academic Roman Snishko, the first condition that I worked with him on, I started working with him when he told me, Anna, you would have to forget everything you've ever learned about speech and stuttering. I was shocked. I said, what? I'm so smart. I've been working as a speech professional for 30 years, hands-on. I know everything about speech. Little did I know that what I knew, of course, some of it was correct information, but very, very little. Very little. Most of the information I learned when I was in school was incorrect. So the bottom line is, I want you to understand how we work today. People enroll in the ETALON unblocking courses. There are 4 unblocking courses that we offer today. I'm not going to explain here anything unless you ask. You can go to the website, you can read. I'm still working how to present them better, but it should be done pretty soon. But it's already, information is there. You can take 4 different courses. But of course, the most important course that I teach, because this is a life-changing course, I teach it in only 3 days. And I will explain why 3 days. Okay, let me explain this first, because this is very important. Because a lot of people who stutter still in disbelief. How could I get rid of stuttering in only 3 days? It's impossible. I've been struggling for years. It's impossible. How could it be done in 3 days? It's a scam, they say. Okay? But you know what? I've been around for 7 years. If I wanted to scam someone, I would have been gone for a long time ago. Okay? So once again, why 3 days? Imagine you don't know that the door that you want to open is supposed to be opened by pulling. You are pulling this door, and you can, no, the other way. I'm going to give you another example. You're supposed to pull the door, and you are pushing it. I think I mentioned it before. You're pushing it, pushing. You've been struggling for 10 minutes, and you cannot open this door. What's going on? You apply all the force. You still cannot open the door. You push. And then someone taps your shoulder and tells you, hey, you need to pull it. You pull it, and in 1 second, all these 10 minutes went. You just laugh at yourself, you pull the door, you open. How much time do you need? Almost no time. This is what happens in anything. You may not know something, but the moment you have learned it, that's it. All your mistakes are gone. Yes, in the beginning, you may not be like at the level of excellence. You may still need to kind of move slowly, right? It may happen because you're still like a first grader. You know how the first grader learns to write? He learns to write the letter A like this, right? And then guess what? After that, a person just, okay. Oh, I'm looking at something. Okay, so and then the older a person gets, he becomes writing better and better and better. So once again, you need to understand, we all, when we learn something, we all go through these levels of mastery. Not good, a little better, more confidence, and then we become masters. Okay. So let's continue. Why 3 days? Because it is that simple. The moment you realize but what you were believing, that what you were doing wrong, boom, everything makes sense now, and you begin performing natural, normal, standard actions. Stuttering disappears instantly. Instantly. So it happens in about maybe sometimes 15 minutes to 2-3 hours. That's how it happens in the ETALON classroom. And then, of course, for 3 days, people just, need to do it. After the course, after 3 days of the course, it's very important to read on the website, livestutterfree.com. Live on the website and realize that after the course, you need to hold the so-called, how do you say it in English, quarantine, cut. How do you say the word quarantine? I'm not sure I'm saying it correctly in English language. Quarantine, when you are not allowed to communicate with stutterers. We are not allowed to communicate with people who stutter, who clutter, who are not good speakers. You just are not allowed because you're still fresh. You still may get a wrong idea, wrong information from them. You're not going to even know that you did. Okay? In any way, you need to hold this quarantine. Okay. So, and that's it. Then for the rest of your life, you continue speaking according to the natural speech norms. But what are the speech norms? I constantly receive these questions. What are these natural speech norms that you teach during the class? Be very simple, but I have no idea what recommendations to give. Why? Because I have no idea. What are the problems? I don't know what you believe. I don't know what your blocks are. Only when my students step inside of the classroom, they tell me, they ask me questions, basically. I always encourage questions. What is your question? Because every question is a block. If you have a question, it means it's your block. You don't have an answer. And until you receive this answer, there is no way you can get rid of this block. This is why okay, so let me talk about the 3-day course, of course, how it works. So we always begin with a question. And I always work, although I have been doing it for 7 years already, each and every student has a totally different lesson plan. Lesson plan is 100% different. Because yes, speech norms exist, but the way we teach these norms, they're different to each and every individual. Each and every person needs different set of the norms. Because something you may know, but you may don't know other things. And I want to mention that Mr. Roman Snishko has written a book which he is not even planning to publish ever. He just wrote it for himself. This book is 400 pages where each and every mistake of a person who stutters is listed. He wrote this book there. He wrote he has collected over 25 years of his intensive work studying speaking, studying stutterers. He has collected all their mistakes. 400 pages written with a tiny font, tiny letters. And each person who stutters may have from 20 to 40, maybe 50 different blocks, mistakes that they make. So when people who stutter step in our classroom, I introduce this student, every student, to Mr. Roman Snishko. And I act, first 15 minutes to 2 hours, I act as an interpreter. You probably have seen the videos, just as an interpreter. Mr. Roman Snishko diagnoses, he runs you through tests. I mean, I give tests before the class, but he can see what is the shortcut is. What is the information that you are missing? And he just tells me, Anna, here is the lesson plan you're going to have. Got it. Thank you. He leaves me, and then I work for 3 days, the rest of the time alone, of course. But each and every student receives an individual educational plan, just like in a school, special education program, IEP, individual educational plan. It's created by a teacher, by an unblocking master who can see where the problem is. You don't need to learn everything. You don't need to learn all the information that Roman Snishko wrote, like 400 pages. You don't need that. You have only 40 mistakes, 40, 50, maybe even less, maybe more. So this is why each and every ETALON course is individual. It's an individual program. We never ever group people. We have tried. I asked Roman Snishko, let's try program. It's going to be less expensive. People can afford it. Let's do it. My heart was just, I wanted to share this. I wanted more people to learn it. But unfortunately, it didn't work. Because, I mean, it was much less expensive for a whole month. We were teaching people. They were making huge progress. But then we needed to continue, and guess what? We didn't have more students. They needed to go to the next level, and we couldn't do it because, and so the bottom line, the majority of the students who were involved in the group classes, they just had to pay a little bit more, not a lot, a little bit more, and they completed the whole program, okay, as a 3-day course. But let me continue. So 3-day course is one option. This is the main course. And the course where you become stutter-free in only 3 days is not that even important. What is the most important and what is the breakthrough is our 100% success guarantee. And it's a lifetime guarantee that if you ever forget something, if you ever run out of norms, you begin doing something abnormal again, things happen, we forget. Life happens. You have a lifetime guarantee. It's included. You don't have to pay a penny. You keep in touch with your teacher, your unblocking master. You come back anytime. You ask any question. You may even come back and video chat, and you just get unblocked again if you develop the block. Yeah, there are so many lies everywhere. You still may communicate with people who may give you a bad advice. They're everywhere. Recommendations, bad recommendations are everywhere. It may happen. So if this happens, you can always come back, ask a question, and you're going to be unblocked just like this again. Okay, and you're going to continue your life. You don't have to come back all the time. But it does happen sometimes when people forget, when they begin communication with stutterers. Even written communication is a set of information. I do not recommend you do so. So here it is. So I recommend that if you're still uncertain, if you're still not sure that you want to go right away with a 3-day course, I recommend you start with a trial session, which is kind of within the same price as an average 2-hour session with a speech therapist. It's about the same price, okay? But it's like 10 times more productive, of course, more successful. If you want, you can start taking, it's like, I believe it's $250 per session, when 2-3 hours you will be unblocked in some way. You will solve one of your two problem, okay? So it's going to be very, very effective. It's $250. You will understand how the program works. You will, once again, you're going to turn on your brain. You will be using it. You will be clearing literally washing your brain from all the misinformation. There is another option. You know that the main course, of course, is a 3-day course. It goes with a 100% lifetime guarantee. 250, of course, there's 250 trial session, no guarantee. I mean, of course. There is another option which is amazing today. It is a session which is only $1,500. It's 1-day course. 1 day. Because as I mentioned to you, unblocking happens in 1 day. Then it just, you continue doing it. But there is no lifetime guarantee. It doesn't go with a lifetime guarantee. Do you understand? So you may become unblocked in 1 day, and I believe it's only $1,500. Just almost nothing. And if you are smart, if you consider yourself smart, if you believe that you don't need 2 more days of practicing under the guidance of your unblocking master, yeah, you can do that. No problem. But you gotta understand they are totally different courses. As long as you're gonna continue, and I have already had people doing 250, 250, 250, they see improvement, a lot of improvement, but I need more information. I need more information. So they just get annoyed by this 250, just like you guys get annoyed with taking more and more speech therapy sessions. In one of my videos, I explained this is the difference between etalon unblocking master and a speech therapist or any other therapist, any other conventional specialist. When you come to me, Stutter, I mean, all the information is like a barrel of information, like a whole barrel. You come to me, you give me the money for the whole barrel, you buy a whole barrel from me. Here, take it, go. Okay, you are done. You don't need to come back to me anymore. 3 days, you got all the information. When you go to a speech therapist or any other conventional professional, specialist, okay, as I mentioned, they also don't know. They have not been trained about what speech and what stuttering is. So when they come to them, they go here. Here is a teaspoon of this, whatever it is in this, maybe even honey. Here, take it. Okay, feeling better? Good. Now come back to me tomorrow. Here is another teaspoon of the honey. Another, and you keep coming back. You keep coming back for more and more, another portion of information. Unfortunately, this information is not even accurate. But you keep coming back, keep coming back. And you are paying different amount of money. Average is like in the United States of America without health insurance, it's about $250, from $180 to $250, different prices. But it's about the same. And they work with you for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I will work for 3 hours and you will immediately feel the difference. Okay, but it's still a trial session. So once again, you can do the trial for 250. You can do 1 day session for 1,500 and get unblocked in 1,500. Yeah, you can. You will get unblocked, but no lifetime guarantee. You will never be able to come back and tell me, and it doesn't work. What do I do? Am I doing something wrong? Sorry, that was your choice. Okay, but if you do select one-time investment in yourself, which is $4,500 today. Don't believe anyone who tells you anything else. $4,500. You invest in yourself. You get unblocked on the very first day. And for 2.5 days, you continue. You're working under my supervision. You give yourself tests. You're testing your new speech. You're testing the norms. You're testing in this situation, in that situation. You're literally turning on your speech. Okay? You gotta understand, speech is an action. It's an action. It can never become sick. It is when you are doing more, of course, in case you know how to do it correctly. If you continue making mistakes, guess what? You will never learn how to do it correctly. Unless you are the lucky one, like one out of thousands, 1,000 may figure it out, but you're not a genius man like academic Roman Snishko. You will never figure it out. You will never understand what speech is, how it works without the guidance of a person who knows it. We help you to shorten the time in your life on figuring it out. Yeah, you may go for years and maybe at the end of your life you figure it out, but the most precious possession we have in our life is our time. So this is why it's only 3 days. In case, yes, it happened, it did happen before, a person would be jumping up and down, speaking everywhere like a chatterbox, happy, and then all of a sudden, a person stops following the norms. He falls one time, made a mistake, second time, and all the fears came back. And he again lost his norms. Guess what? They would come back to me, and I would immediately kind of awaken them. Awaken. Hey, you again not inside the norms. Norms have the borders. There is a frame, okay, like a door has a frame. This is what the norms have frames. You know, this is why they have deviations from the norms. You cannot deviate from the norms. There are borders, okay? When you step outside of the norms, you will become abnormal right away. So I don't want to give you too much information today. I want to keep it simple. I'm afraid that I already kind of did it not as simple as my mentor, academic Roman Snishko. So what else I want you to understand? That as long as you remain ignorant and non-educated, as long as you remain uneducated, you will always remain aggressive. You will always remain struggling, suffering. And you need to understand that we have the tool. Academic Roman Snishko does not have this phrase, I don't know. This is what sometimes even I come to him with my students, sometimes I go, Roman, I don't know. I do still. Even after 7 years of doing this, I would still come to him and ask, I'm not sure, am I doing it correctly? It's normal because I'm not genius. I'm smart, as I mentioned, but I'm not the genius one. I'm just a medium for the Russian genius man who has solved stuttering. So you got to understand we have different tools. But what is the tool that you need? We don't know until you step inside of the classroom. And this is why I want you to understand speech is an action. And we speak, I like the comparison of speaking. Speaking is like shooting the gun. I have even created an image. If you follow me on Instagram, you will see it. Shooting a gun. This is what speech is. Okay? So the gun is an instrument and the speech apparatus, speech instrument. So when you shoot the gun, the kind of barrel is our speech pipe, right? And the bullets are our words. And pulling the trigger is like supplying CO2 gas from our gas. So the bottom line, speaking is just shooting the gun. Our job is to load the gun with a bullet. Yes, this is a very important process. We need to load our gun, our mind, with words. We need to learn words as complete, whole words. And again, I'm going to remind you, every time you go to speech therapists, speech professionals, what do they teach you? They teach you to break words and syllables and words and parts. This is horrible. This is crazy. Because in years of practicing, learning, speaking in parts, guess what you're doing? This is what you're learning. You're speaking in parts. This is why you cannot say a whole word. It's not natural. It's not normal. People do not speak like this. So I've been speaking for a long time. I have so much information to tell you about. And I probably will come back, maybe not next Friday, but a Friday, like every other Friday. I just noticed that my Freedom Friday is written backwards on the screen. It's my mistake. I'm going to fix this mistake next time. And I may even not keep this recording for a long time. So unfortunately, no one asked any questions. So I have to kind of gain the audience back. Thank you so much for watching. And what is the ETALON program? If you want me to put it in short, ETALON program means become smart, gain the skill, and win. ETALON program is for winners, because people who stutter, sorry to say that you may not like it when I say this, and I don't really mean to hurt anybody. Everything I do from my heart, okay? And every person who stutters is a loser. Yes, you may win in some part of your life, in some skills. Of course, people who stutter can learn anything. They can learn how to write. Many of them are beautiful writers. People who stutter may learn how to play sports. They become Olympic champions. You can learn anything you want. But speaking is also a skill, which can never become sick. Can it be a sickness of playing football? Can it be a sickness of playing a piano? Can your playing a guitar ever become sick? See, I'm repeating myself, but I want to engrave it in your mind. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. I wish you to become finally stutter-free in the new year. Let's make 2019 the year when you finally become smart. You wise up. Stop believing all the lies. There is nothing wrong with you. Wise up. Turn on your brain. Begin using it. And learn to speak within the norms, without deviation from the norms, and become a winner. It is your time to shine. It is time for the world to see your beautiful personality. If you believe that you're a good person, how will people know that you are a good person if you don't speak? People will never learn. You're going to waste your life. If you want to accomplish anything great in your life, you're going to have to become smart. How do you become smart? You learn the information. You clear up your mind from misinformation. You understand what speech is, what stuttering is. How do we speak? How do we use this body, mind, machine in the way other people do? And you just do it for the rest of your life. You will enjoy your stutter-free life. Let me quickly look what else I have. See, my notes are even in Russian here. And oh yeah, the one thing I didn't talk about fears, but there's so many things I can talk about. So when you are afraid of words, it's a little bit information about fears. You're afraid of words, you are aggressive towards the words, and you don't want to say the word. And this is how technical stupor develops. You stupor. You're like static rest. You lean, you push, lean against the word that you don't like. Okay? And of course, you cannot say it. We call it a technical stupor. There could be many, many other stupors, okay? And you just need to understand just the bottom line. It is not you who speaks. It is the flow of carbon dioxide gas that speaks, carries this information that you want to share. And it is the word that speaks. And if you don't know the word as a whole sequence of sounds, not letters, this is another topic I'm going to talk about maybe next time, because I'm already tired and it's already time to cut short the session. So this is, since last year, first time I'm going live. I need a little more practice. As you see, I'm stumbling sometimes, but this is what it is. I want to master the skill of doing presentations live on YouTube again, because I haven't done it for a whole year. I was really good at doing this last year. But anyway, so my recommendations, I recommend you go to the website livestutterfree.com. You study the information. I've written so many books. I have written under supervision, of course, of Mr. Roman Snishko, so many books. There are 3 free ebooks, and there is also a book which is called Speech is a Skill. Yes, this is a book also written under supervision of Mr. Roman Snishko. Since the time we published it, we have written another book. It's called The Stutterers Bible. But unfortunately, I never had the time and strength to translate it into English language. When I started translating, I realized it has to be rewritten. And I just never had the time. But you know, even if you read this book, it will be totally fine for you. You will already open your mind completely. But people ask me, if I read the book, will I stop stuttering? I cannot answer this question to you, because the book is just a collection of theoretical information. It's a story, okay? It's a theory, a story about how you need to speak, what the problem stutterers have, some of the problems. It's very limited. See, it's a very skinny book, not a big book. Roman has written a book which has 400 pages, as I mentioned to you, and not typed. It's a handwritten book, very, very tiny font. So what is your problem? I don't know. And even after you have read the book, you will understand a lot of things, of course. It's a great book to begin with. And by the way, it's only $50. You will donate $50 on our website. It's very, very good for you to learn. And then you step inside the classroom. When you come to me, I will see what your problem is, and I will immediately, of course, under the supervision of my mentor, I will give you the individual educational plan. You need to understand only individual program, because in reality, ETALON program doesn't exist. It's not for masses. It's not for everyone. ETALON is an individual educational plan. It's ETALON IEP. And when it's created, special is created, and then you begin implementing it. Just like in the school, in a special education department, at least in the United States of America. So anyway, I wish you a lot of success, and my wish to you, of course, to realize another thing. There are not too many smart people on this planet. And I wish you with all my heart to become smart. Smart people are successful people. Smart people are happy people. Smart people, wise people are those who are not afraid of anything. I have zero fear in my heart. There is nothing to be afraid. Life is so beautiful. It's too bad I'm already 60 years of age. I want to be as young as you are, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. I would have so much more energy to do things. But I'm not complaining. I'm still alive, still kicking, okay? So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again. And please go email me, contact me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp. My coordinates are here. I mean, I'm going to have to put it in description because everything is backwards. Okay? So lots of love to you, and hope to see you soon. Become smart, learn